Today's video at Thermal Mermaid is all about getting those natural ingredients in our soap and bath products that we make. If you've ever wondered how to make your own aloe vera powder, then that's what we're about to do today. In this video, we're going to go through the whole process of making our own aloe vera powder. Now this will give you a good comparison on the effort and the cost of doing it yourself compared to buying an 8-ounce bag of commercially made aloe vera powder that you can easily get on Amazon or any of your soap supply companies. To begin with, you might ask, what's the deal about aloe vera powder? Isn't it the aloe gel that has the healing properties and nutrients? And yes, the gel has traditional healing properties. In fact, aloe vera is the most widely used herb in cosmetics across the whole world. Aloe vera contains vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids. These rich nutrients can soothe rashes, skin irritations. They're known for healing eczema or even open wounds. By dehydrating it and grinding it down into a powder, you're able to preserve the aloe along with the nutrients and keep it from rotting before you're ready to use it. Now, as you see here, I've already started to prepare my aloe pieces. I've acquired 4 big fat aloe leaves at the grocery store, and these leaves cost about $1.99 a piece, and I purchased 4 of them for a total of $8. Now, the first thing we do is we wash the leaves and we're going to cut them into thin slices. You start at the base of the leaf, and if your aloe seems to ooze a yellow gel, then just wash that part away or cut that part off at the base. If you buy your leaves at the grocery store, you may not see any of the yellow coloration in your leaves because they've already been cut. But what you do see is clear meat and gel on the inside, as you can see in the video. Finish cutting up all your pieces. Lay the pieces out on a dehydrator tray. Now, some tutorials will suggest that you can dry out your plant and herbs on the oven or set them in a dry area for a few days. And if you're using this for cosmetics, we recommend that you do use a dehydrator for this job, especially if you're making a face or a skin product to sell. There's a difference between placing your herbs and plants into a dehydrator versus drying them out in the oven or setting them out to dry. The dehydrator is best for preservation because it will remove all the moisture as opposed to most of the moisture. And this is critical in preservation for your aloe vera product. If there's any moisture whatsoever, your herb will start to rot or grow mold. And the plant material has to be 100% dehydrated for cosmetic use. Now, the time that it takes to dehydrate your aloe pieces will vary depending on where you live and the time of season it is and how humid your environment is. For us here in New England, I let these dry for a full 3 days before I touch them. It's extremely important to me that they are as absolutely dehydrated as they can possibly be. While we're at this stage, notice that the aloe meat has a consistency of soft, sludgy goop. It's oozing all over my fingers, and it has the same feeling of that sticky film a snail leaves behind when it crawls across your fingertips. It's important to consider safety precautions when transferring this when it becomes a powder out of the blender into a container where you'll keep it sealed. The dust is so fine that when you take the top off the blender, it'll look like smoke or like a puff of spores when you just kick a mushroom. It sits in the air and it sort of lingers. So you want to allow the dust to settle before you remove the top, but you will need to wear a mask. You're not going to be able to avoid breathing the dust when some of it lingers in the air and just sits there. And remember, this isn't regular dust. We're about to dehydrate it. If you breathe it, it'll make contact with the moisture in your lungs, and those tiny particles will expand and rehydrate inside your lungs. And so don't forget right now what kind of a sludgy, goopy gel you're looking at. This powder will want to turn back into this sludgy, goopy gel after it's been dehydrated, so do not let that happen inside your lungs. Now, I was really careful to avoid breathing the dust, but it wasn't enough. When I finished this project, it felt like I had a brick sitting on my chest for about 2 hours. It was uncomfortable, and it made me concerned that this might not be a project for someone with COPD or chronic asthma, or if you already have a compromised respiratory system. And I had a very difficult time avoiding breathing in the dust that was just sitting in the air no matter what I did. Once you've finished placing your aloe pieces on their trays, you're ready to stack them up and leave them alone to dry. As you can see here, 4 large aloe leaves gave me 5 full trays of plant material that needed to be set aside. And here's what our aloe pieces look like after being left to dehydrate for 3 days. You can see here there are only 3 trays, and that's because I've just condensed them as the pieces are becoming smaller, and I've removed trays as the days go on, but it's all the same amount of aloe. Once your pieces are finished, put everything together in a dish. And as you can see, this is all we have left of the original 4 large leaves. So we'll place these into a coffee grinder, or in my case, the Ninja blender. Coffee grinder seems to work better. You can really pulverize it down into a powder because that's exactly what a coffee grinder does. Whereas a blender, you have to work a little bit, you have to put a little effort into it, and the blender's not, its main job isn't turning things into a powder, so you may have to sift it a few times. Now, the Ninja blender is kind of like the blender on steroids, so it does a really terrific job, and I still had to sift this powder to get my end result. So you definitely can use this sparingly for your lotions and your face masks and your soaps. Now, after all this work, you might decide that you'd rather buy your aloe vera powder already made. So let's review something from the beginning. I bought 4 large leaves for $1.99, and I paid $8 for what turned out to be 3.5 ounces of powder. However, the average cost of buying aloe vera powder is about $10 for 8 ounces, not including the shipping fees. If you shop around and look for it, you can find this at a really reasonable price, although some places it's extremely exorbitant. The first couple of places that I found, I think I was at Whole Foods, and I was looking at the cost of the aloe vera powder. It was expensive enough for me to think, I'll just take this home and make this project myself. But it turns out that if you look around, and you can find some pretty reasonable 8-ounce packages over on Amazon. I've left the links in the article attached to this video, where you can get access to what I found to be the cheaper versions of the aloe vera powder that also still promises to be 100% natural. Now, as you can see, that first round of blending gave me a combination of powder and still those large crispy granules. And so we're giving it a second round, and we're going to sift this again until our powder is a fine dust. Now, sometimes in our handcrafted projects, we tend to go out and harvest our own ingredients for ourselves because, in fact, it's just faster to do it that way than to sit around waiting for things to arrive in the mail, which can take multiple days. In this case, it sort of equals out to be the same because you still need those solid 2 days, 3 days to get your project dehydrated. So this isn't something that you can wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm out of aloe vera powder, I'll just go make it myself right now. That's not going to happen. It's about the same if you were to buy it from a reputable commercial source, that you're going to have to wait for it to dehydrate compared to waiting for it to come to you in the mail. And after all that work, here is our 100% natural aloe vera powder. Voila! So if you found this video helpful and you'd like to see more of our handmade soaping tutorials, then please subscribe and leave a thumbs up. And if you'd like the full recipes for any of our products that we make, you can download these over at our Thermal Mermaid Learning Library. It's free to register and join. And all you have to do is pop on over and give yourself a username, and you can get access instantly to dozens of our teaching tutorials and many of our handmade Thermal Mermaid recipes that are ready to be printed and downloaded so that you can try these at home. And if you explore a little bit more, you'll find some of our custom downloadable labels for the projects that you make, along with dozens and dozens of other projects.